Hi, welcome to the Now Moment Journey podcast. I'm Kirsten Lovett, and it's been a while since I've recorded a podcast episode, and I just wanted to explain why. Um, it's been a very tumultuous summer here where I live in terms of weather, which is something I'm going to talk about in this podcast a little bit. Um, I basically work a little bit with weather spirits in terms of trying to protect both myself, my family, my neighborhood, etc. Um, I'd say that this came out of working with sacred tobacco, which that came out of personal healing. So if I had to like draw back and trace the development of how I got here to this point, I'd say it first started with the desire to have personal healing, which I think is what happens with a lot of people because we need personal healing, whether it's spiritual or physical or emotional, etc. Um, and then I worked with and continue to work with sacred tobacco for many, 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 many years and developed a relationship with it where I have an ongoing plant spirit relationship with it. And I've talked about that a little bit in other episodes, but I'll talk about that more again. And then sacred tobacco kind of led me into weather work because I live in Florida right now and have been for some time. And weather is pretty dramatic here during certain months of the year. And I think it just kind of happened where I was working so much with tobacco that also other kinds of offerings, uh, where it just kind of popped through my clairaudience, through my hearing, that I should start working with weather. So I'm going to skip a bit and just tell you a little bit about what it's like preparing for weather in terms of doing either ritual or doing offerings or just doing prayers, etc. These kinds of things. And I wrote down some notes, so I'm glad that because there's a lot of details that I'm going to gloss over and just give you kind of a generic overview. Basically, we had two or three storms, actually we had three storms in a row, and they were of different varieties in terms of severity. And they happened kind of back to back in terms of like maybe there was like a week or two in between each one. I think the first one was Debbie, where it was a tropical storm. And at the time of this recording right now, it's 2024. So this would be summer of 2024. And then after the tropical storm Debbie, there was Helene, which was, I think technically still, it might have been a hurricane. And then Hurricane Milton, which was the big one, which hit our area. So basically, weather prep for Helene is what I'm going to read over a little bit. And some of these things you may or may not know what they are. So just to give you an idea, September 26th, I think, is maybe when I'm not sure if that's the exact date, but maybe it was around that time. So about a week, or I'd say 8 days before that, I did a weather ceremony. And if you're in my Patreon, you might be familiar with that. And that's a ceremony that involves candles and my medicine bundle, but it can be done with a group. And then what I was doing was daily candles with runes, which is a completely different area. That's Nordic pantheon tradition, so to speak, and mostly having to do with Rido, which is looks like an R kind of, and that is a wind related to the wind god Kori. It looks like Kari, but I think it's pronounced Kori. And then about 6 days beforehand, I did a tobacco ceremony. And then I did another tobacco ceremony 4 days after that. Then I did Misa candles, which are where I use my medicine bundle, which I work with pretty frequently, and that's from the Andean tradition, Andean. And that's where some of you may know about this from the Patreon, where I can take a candle and bless it to a person or to a deity or to a nature spirit. And it's through the Misa, and that's through the medicine bundle. Then on the same day, I did an offering, and this is something that anybody can do. And a lot of these things are things that I can either show you how to do or talk about in other trainings or in the Patreon or in classes that you'll see me offer. So, but this is something right off the bat. There's an offering that I learned from my sister, who's also in the Patreon with me, of where you can combine tobacco, cacao, and chamomile. And the Apus, in particular, the mountain spirits, they really like this. So whenever I do like a healing for a person distantly, or I do a candle ceremony or something like that, for it could be for myself too, I like to give the Apus, the mountain spirits, the offering of tobacco, cacao, and chamomile. Cacao is really nice for Pachamama. Those of you who know the Andean path know that cacao is very associated with Pachamama. And then, so that was about maybe a day or two before the storm, I think. And there's actually a lot more things that I have written here that I won't get into right now. Maybe I'll pick up on those in a different episode. But the runes candle that the rune candles I mentioned before, which was the one dedicated to the wind, which is Kori, that has become a very efficient and steady thing that you can do right now. And maybe I'll do a separate video on that, or a separate podcast on that. And I did that daily for at least 7 to 10 days beforehand. So, if you live in a hurricane or a storm prone area for a long period of time, it's good to keep those up throughout the entire season, actually. So like if hurricane season begins in, June, you're going to be doing candles pretty much until the end of November. So, and it's a pretty low cost thing to do. You can get tea light candles. You can even do this on a birthday candle. They cost maybe $1, maybe $2 for birthday candles. And then I think tea light candles you can get at most places for under $5 or less, actually. There's several other Nordic deities that I'll go through. Maybe I'll do a separate episode on that. Because these are parts of classes that I'm probably going to offer in the future. So if you're interested in the runes, this is kind of related to weather work. There's something I'm going to be offering. I don't know when it's going to be put together, but I hope sometime in 2025. Different rune classes, basically called Singing the Runes. You don't have to know how to sing, but we will be toning the runes. That's all that means. And the runes are great to work with because they allow kind of a portal to the deities, especially the Nordic deities. And I think it's a safe way to do things so that you don't feel too overwhelmed or anything like that. And I think a lot of people know about the runes anyway, plus the way I teach it, you don't have to know all the mythology behind everything unless you want to, but you don't have to. In fact, and this isn't really an advertisement for my class because I haven't even put it together yet. So I'm just telling you about what's coming up in 2025. But I think that the runes are interesting because they kind of have provided a positive gateway for me in addition to tobacco. And I think those of you who've known me and known my teachings about sacred tobacco, understand that it's with respect and you have to, you know, kind of build a relationship with sacred tobacco. And that comes with offerings and various things like that. And I think those things are really integral to what I teach. And I think that studying the runes in the way that I'm going to teach them and show you and guide you, so to speak, I think can provide an additional alternative if you're not comfortable with tobacco yet, which you might be eventually. But because the way I teach tobacco, you don't have to actually inhale any tobacco. You're not going to you're not going to become a tobacco user. Okay. But anyway, if you just, that's not your cup of tea and, you want to, the runes are kind of like appealing to you. It's not an either or thing. There's a lot of people who like both, but I think this can be a nice way to get in touch with your spirit family. Now, let me tell you what I mean by spirit family. I'm not talking about angels. I'm not talking about, saints or anything like that, although they may show up. When I'm talking about spirit family, I'm talking about either plant spirits, animal spirits, stone spirits, or you could have ancestral helping spirits that had a relationship or continue to have a relationship with a deity. So sometimes when I'm talking about the Nordic area of things, it might have to do with maybe an ancestral spirit that worked with Odin, or maybe he or she worked with Freya or Frigg or Loki or Thor or Njordr or any number of, or Gulveg, the witches, right? So that's sort of a possibility there. But there's also elements in that. Like I mentioned, the wind, Kori, the wind, Njordr is of the sea, Ran and Agur. And of course, Jordr is the earth. So it could be, and I think if you're, attracted to the things that I've been talking about over the last few years, you're kind of an earth-based person anyway, somebody who really understands the intuitive pull of plant spirits or animal spirits or stone spirits, etc. So I think even the runes can work with this in a way, if that makes sense. So I'm going to wrap it up here because I just wanted to kind of tell you guys a little bit about some of the weather prep I did for Helene and for Milton. And I'm not expecting any of it to make sense because these are all different things that I do that you may or may not have experienced. But I think it gives you an idea of the variety. I was using Andean, which is from Peru, things that come from the Mesa. I was using things from the Nordic tradition, which is from the Northern Hemisphere. So I have Southern Hemisphere and Northern Hemisphere. And, and there was other things I've learned from Nepalese shamanism. So you can tell it's a very faceted process. I don't feel like it has to be, if you do weather work, that it has to be in one little area of the world in terms of where you learn your information on how to do weather work. I think the one common thread that's true for any kind of weather work that's done with people of any kind of integrity is that you do not manipulate the weather ever. That's what I was told by the spirits. I'm not allowed to make things move around. And I believe that that's something that should be avoided by anybody wishing to humbly work with the weather. You're not there to move things around. Okay. So I just want to leave you with that and wish you a wonderful weekend. Hi, if you liked this episode today, feel free to like and subscribe to my channel and check out the other episodes on YouTube at the Now Moment Journey podcast, and as well as any other videos I have there. I have quite a few. I'd also like to invite you to a free quiz, which will help you figure out what kind of animal or plant or stone spirit archetype you are. And that's actually more of like to get you prepared for working with your own animal spirits, plant spirits, stone spirits, to build your own spiritual sovereignty so you can have your own personal spirit relationships. And I'd like to just show you something here. You can go to my link tree, which is www.linktr.ee/now moment journey. And you'll see here where I have some podcast episodes. And then you'll see getting to know your animal, plant, and stone spirit families class. That's about four buttons down. Just click on that, and that will take you to a page where there's a class, but just page down for the free preview. And that will sign you up to get the free preview, which includes video and also a free quiz. So if that looks interesting to you, I highly recommend you do that. Also, if you're ready to join a community of like-minded, like-hearted souls with myself and Marissa Lovett, we have a Patreon, and that's also on my link tree here, right beneath the animal, plant, and stone spirit families. And you can join that as a free member as well. If you'd like to join and support the podcast, and you get a ton of other bonuses. You get to participate in live streams, which include shamanic journeying and learning how to build relationships with plant, stone, and animal spirit families. We're also doing Nordic and Germanic ritual and ceremonial practices. I'll be talking more and teaching more about the runes. So that's also going to be included at the Patreon, and how you do that. And then also, just feel free to look at the other links on my link tree. I have links to other podcast episodes. And also, if you'd like to just sign up for my email list, that's down here, Shamanic Coach newsletter. And I'd also like to talk about our free Discord group, which is a discussion group for the animist practices for the Nordic animist year. So, like, let's say you're interested in Eurocentric practices, pre-Christian Eurocentric practices, ways for you to get in touch with the earth that's maybe through a Eurocentric pre-Christian vein. This is a really great group, and it's guided by some research by other authors, but it's a great group where a lot of us who have experience in Nordic animist ritual work, as well as following the runic calendar. And, even if you're new to this stuff, it's really fun. It's a lot of fun. So I encourage you to check that out as well. And so I hope you'll join me in any of those veins. Even just signing up for the email list is great. And the quiz is a really great method to let you kind of find out what your interests are. Let's say you gravitate more towards animals. What is it about animals that you gravitate towards? And it's more about the spirit, not just the specific animal. So these things have been with all of us, all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds for thousands of years. So I hope that you'll check that out. And in the meantime, wait for the next episode by liking and subscribing on YouTube, and you'll be sure to get the update. So hope to see you soon. Many blessings.